welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Andrea, and today I have 3 modern boho Dollar Tree DIYs to share with you. Now let's get crafting. This DIY is a modern boho wall hanging. I have this black and white Dollar Tree rug, and I actually got this in my mystery box from one of my last videos. Donna from Creative by Nature sent me 2 of these rugs, and I'm using one of them today. I'll also be using some of the nautical rope she sent me in these 2 different sizes. One is much thicker, and one is a thinner rope. To start with, I'm taking this thicker nautical rope, and I'm separating it into 3 strands. I wrapped a piece of tape around the end and I'm cutting it off on the other side. I taped it in place to the table and now I'm braiding all 3 strands together. Now that my braid is done, I'm hot gluing it in place across the top of the rug. I'm taking another section of this thick nautical rope and separating it into 3 strands. And just like with the last one, I taped it to the table and I'm braiding it the whole way down. I'm placing it diagonally on the rug, but I'm not going to glue it into place just yet. First, I'm making another braided strand to go diagonally on the other side of the rug. And now I'm hot gluing both strands in place. I'm now taking a strand of the thinner nautical rope and gluing it as a border along the sides and bottom of the folded part of the rug. Now I'm taking another strand of this thinner rope and making a triangle shape in the middle of the rug. And I'm hot gluing that in place. To add to the design and make it a little more interesting, I'm taking another strand of the same rope and I'm wrapping it around the triangle, going over and under the whole way round. Once I have the rope where I want it, I'm going to hot glue it in place. To tie in the bottom of the wall hanging with the top, I'm adding a strand of the thin nautical rope along the bottom. I'm gluing the ends to the back of the rug and wrapping it around the front. To hang up this wall hanging, I'm using these 2 wood dowels from the dollar store. Of course, you could use a longer dowel, but I only had these shorter ones on hand, so I'm gluing them together with hot glue and E6000. I let it set overnight, but it was still a little bit wobbly, so I'm stabilizing it with some masking tape, wrapping the tape around the 2 dowels where they intersect. I tied on some cotton twine and hung it up, and this is the finished modern boho wall hanging. For this DIY, we'll be making a hanging boho plant stand. I'm using these 9-inch embroidery hoops from Michaels, and I'm separating them from each other. And I'll be painting both hoops with this rose gold metallic spray paint. This took a couple coats to get all the sides of the hoops painted. I'm now arranging them so they form a sphere with one hoop inside the other at a 90-degree angle. Then I'm taking a pencil and marking where the hoops intersect so I can glue them together. I'm adding the glue to the top and bottom of the hoops, then taking these Dollar Tree clamps and holding the hoops together while the glue sets. I'm now taking some wood beads in various sizes and lining them up in the order that I want them to go. I'm using this white acrylic paint and I'm threading all the beads onto a skewer and painting them white with a paintbrush. I put a tiny bead at the end of the skewer to make sure none of my beads fell off. While that dries, I'm taking this cotton twine from Dollar Tree and wrapping it around my fingers 20 times, then cutting it off. Now I'm taking another piece of twine and tying it around the top of the loop, then cutting through the bottom of the loop to make a tassel. I have another piece of twine that I'm poking through the top of the tassel, and I'm using a pencil to make it easier, and I'm tying a knot at the top. Now I'm threading the beads onto the twine. I put a piece of tape onto the end of the twine to make it easier to thread the beads through, and now I'm tying the tassel onto the bottom of the 2 hoops. And I'm also hot gluing it in place just to make sure it's secure. Next, I'll be using this cork trivet from Dollar Tree. I'm placing it inside the sphere to get an idea of where I want it to sit, and I'm making marks on the trivet with a pencil so I know where to place the glue. Now I'm putting hot glue onto the trivet, then placing it inside the sphere, making sure the sides of the trivet are touching the sides of the hoops so they stick in place. I did have to add some extra glue once the trivet was in place, and it did make it a little bit easier to do this one side at a time while the trivet was inside the hoops, because then the hot glue wasn't drying too quickly. For the next part of this DIY, I'll be creating a braided hanger with this nautical rope. First, I'm taking apart the rope and separating it into 3 strands. I taped the top in place, and now I'm braiding all the strands together. I'm now gluing this braided strand to the top of the plant stand. And here is the finished modern boho hanging plant stand. I just put one of my fake succulents on there, and I think it looks super cute. If you're new to my channel, I would love if you would subscribe for more Dollar Tree DIYs and budget-friendly home decor DIYs every week. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Andrea Peacock DIY, where I share short video tutorials and photos of my DIYs. For this DIY, I'm making a modern boho tray. To start, I'm using this 8x10 inch canvas from Dollar Tree, and I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut the canvas away from the frame. I'm now removing the staples from the front of the frame, and I'm using a knife and some pliers to get them out. I'm now sanding all the sides and edges of the wood frame. I'm taking this black acrylic paint and painting the whole frame black. For the base of the tray, I'm using this bamboo placemat I got at Dollarama. I'm placing the frame on top of the placemat to figure out what size to cut it, and then I'm cutting out my rectangle to fit perfectly in the frame. I'm now putting hot glue around the back of the frame, then sticking the placemat on top. Make sure the nice part of the placemat is facing up and the back side is on the bottom of your tray. For the handles of the tray, I have these 2 door pulls that are 4 3/4 inches, and I spray painted them black. I'm taking a measuring tape to figure out where I want to place the handles and making a little mark with this screw on either side. Now I'm placing the handle on the frame and lining it up with the 2 dots, then pressing the screw into the frame with my screwdriver and screwing it in place. Then I took some of the acrylic paint and just painted over top of the silver screws. And here is what the final modern boho tray looks like. I styled it with this white vase I made in a previous video, which I'll link for you. It's super easy, and I really love how this turned out. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these videos on the side, and let me know in the comments which of the 3 DIYs today was your favorite. Give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.